Hello, everybody. Here, Charlotte again. This time in the trucks. There's a lot of difference between the trucks and the Xfinity cars, but I find that the Xfinity bridges the gap between trucks and Cup kind of well. In other words, I can take stuff from the truck, shock setup, say, or weight balance. I can run it in Cup, but I gotta adjust certain other things. In Xfinity and trucks, I can pretty much run the same setups and get near identical results relative to the series. You're not gonna run the same times. Sometimes you do, but you need to be a little faster in Xfinity. So, in tackling the setup issue, is essentially what I do is you start in the trucks first if you're doing career. So you figure out the trucks as you get a season or two to pretty much just concentrate on them. And then when you get into Xfinity, even in the hot seats, you use your setup from the truck and then adjust from there. Use it as a baseline, at least something to get around the track with that you're, semi-familiar with. It's a different vehicle, so it kind of drives a little different. And then, adjust on it. And what I found is I'll do that, right? I'll take a good setup, say my Atlanta setup from the trucks. I put it in Xfinity. I got it adjusted, right? But right off the bat, I got like a top 10 car in Xfinity at Atlanta. So, that's helpful, And then I'll tune on that once I get into the Xfinity series full time. And, then I'll translate that back down to the trucks. It's like, oh, that worked at Atlanta, so let me put that or change that same thing in the truck, and sure enough, it tends to translate, and I go faster in the truck. So most of my setups right now, since I'm just attacking Cup full time now this season after 10 seasons. I'm starting to see the differences, and definitely probably aero, because of aero and different engines and such. The Cup cars are uniquely different. They're kind of like their own thing, but balance-wise, baseline setup-wise, they have a lot in common with Xfinity. So if you got a good Xfinity setup for a track, you can use that as a baseline for Cup and give you a starting off advantage, I don't know if it'll get you there's 100 million variables there. I don't know if it'll get you a great car, but when I translated my Xfinity and truck Atlanta setup to Cup, I had a top 10 in a 4-star car in my first full season. That opened my eyes. I was like, oh, yeah, well, it's the same track, it's just more laps, right? So, and, I didn't really have any problems in the race, so I can't say, it was a really good, if nothing else, a test bed. And I was like, damn, that's really, really, really useful. And it's helped me fine-tune or get me up to speed in Cup a lot quicker. Same thing with Xfinity. Tracks that I might, win easier at in the truck, I still got like a top 10 car in Xfinity. And that tends to translate over to Cup. Maybe not a top 10, maybe a top 15. But I'm not, finishing 30th, kind of thing if I'm having a good race. So I'm like, cool, let's go. Some of the biggest differences you'll find is in say truck, Xfinity, and Cup is the engine. Yeah, the NASCAR Heat 4 changed their physics mainly because the Cup Series adopted new rules for 2019. At most of the big tracks, not all, I think all the big tracks, they no longer run the full horsepower. They only run 450 horsepower engines, which is basically like a restrictor plate engine, but not restricted. at the restrictor plate tracks, I believe they run the big engines, but they have a tapered spacer instead of a restrictor plate. Kind of does the same thing, but it doesn't take away the throttle response, so they drive like the full horsepower engines, either 450 or 750. That's important when you're letting out of the gas. In the past, with restrictor plates, if you let out of the gas, it'd be like a lap before you can catch up. You can lose the draft just by lifting, which is why years ago you'd see a lot of accidents when they started going 2 and 3 wide, because no one wanted to lift. And if you don't lift, you're hitting the guy in front of you in a packed draft. And you hit him the wrong way at the wrong moment, boom, it sends him sideways, he loses it, and then 20 cars are in a wreck. So they were trying to solve that issue. And NASCAR Heat 4 fully adopted that package, which means that all the above-mile tracks, I believe, all the mile and a third and above, because Darlington's a mile and a third in the Cup Series, all have 450 horsepower engines. And that means that aerodynamics is much more important. When you have lesser horsepower, if you got a blunt-nosed car or a non-aero car, a car that's damaged, it's not going to run as fast as a car that is, better aerodynamically. So you get a different style of racing. I'm not so thrilled about it behind the wheel. It looks good on TV, which is, I think, another goal that they had to make the racing more exciting, for the average spectator. But, being a more of a racer, and driving the thing, it's like, you hit the gas, it's like, let's go. You go NASCAR Heat 3, and you're like, wow, I'm blowing them away. And NASCAR Heat 4, you're like, come on. It's like you're leaning forward in your seat, rocking your chair, trying to, come on, edge them out, clear them. And you do experience that at times. And it's, you kind of like got to have a different mindset. You can't race Atlanta like you race Bristol in Cup. Now, in Xfinity and the Truck Series, they did not adopt those rules. Xfinity has their own aero rules, and Truck, of course, is a totally different animal because of the shape. It's much more blunt. There's a lot more draft behind, a lot more suck-up, as it were, for vehicles behind. And they don't have as much side force. They do, but they don't. The trucks are unique. They're weird. So they drive differently. Xfinity and Cup used to drive very similarly. Now they drive different, with the Xfinity pretty much with the least amount of downforce. As you can see here, I use my tire strategy. I have a decent truck, I believe, because we're down to 10 laps to go, and I got a caution fell right for me, so I pitted. I got fresher tires, and I just took the lead. But you see, if you watch my Xfinity video, you see I'm still a little issue on the right rear. I think I adjusted it, but see the right rear starts to wear first, and on a long run that tends to get exacerbated. And at a track like Charlotte, what it does is when you get right rear is like middle off, and when you get like to the middle, it tends to want to slide up the track, and you lose drive off because you got to pedal it or get out of the gas to not spin out, wreck, etc. You also lose maneuverability because you can't, if something happens in front of you, you can't jerk the wheel. Not that you should anyway, but you just like have no chance of getting out. I was in an online default setup race, and I was amazed at how a few of them, and I was amazed at how loose the cars get. And I was like, damn, this is what I'm fighting. I don't want to be doing this. But it was fun, it was only like, half a dozen guys or so. And so it allowed me to experience that in a different way. But it's like, guy got into it. I was running, I think, third or fourth, and 2 guys got into it in front of me. 1 guy spun in the middle of the track. And I was like, I knew as soon as I saw, I was like, if he comes in the middle of the track, I cannot avoid him because I will spin out. I think it was at Dover. I was like, there's just no way I just can't turn the wheel. I'm gonna wreck. So I just T-boned. There was no damage, so. But it kind of ruined my race, you know, or the race I was having. Not a big deal, just the thing, you know. Yeah, the more you jerk around, whether you're on wheels or controllers, the more trouble you're usually asking for, even in a straight line. I mean, you can spin these things out in a straight line. Custom setups or, you know, default, doesn't really matter. So, you know, kind of straight and true. I'm a little loose, so you see, if you watch the window bar right in front of the steering, it's not lined up perfectly, but you watch that as a point of reference when the truck is going around. You can see that it's moving up and down, closer to the white line, closer to the outside wall, you know, in the turns, and that's the looseness I'm dealing with. And, you know, I've been sim racing a long time, so I kind of know, like, okay, here's where it's gonna, yep, and see how I'm turning the wheel, and I'm like right there. I'm like right on a knife's edge, you know, a butter knife, because I can drive it and still stay fast, but still, you know, it's something you wanna address. So what will I do? Well, depending on what my wedge settings are, I've learned that relative to Heat 3, on the mile and above tracks, Darlington and the bigger tracks, more wedge. Got to put more wedge in it. How much more? Well, that's a matter of debate. As I've said in the past, like here, I probably ended up running 49.6 on the wedge, and I find that really good with a 52 or somewhere between 51 and 52 on the front weight. That stabilizes the car and balances it enough for me to be able to drive it. I use very tight steering. You know, I think I want to get down to the white line and I'm there. When you see me turn that steering wheel a quarter turn, because in real racing, a quarter turn is about all you want to have to turn the wheel. When you see me turning it more, it means I'm trying to keep it in a certain spot. Yeah, see? When it's loose, it just wants to cut. Once you get towards the middle of the corner, yeah, almost off, out of it, that's pedaling. If you heard the gas I was on, that's pedaling it, so I don't spin out. And you gotta find the line to drive it where you can get the most speed out of it and be on the gas the most. You don't want to get it into a position like I did out of turn 4 last time, where you're messing it up. So yeah, cut it better, didn't overcut. So you kind of drifted a little bit, and I went, right there. So you get that little. And Charlotte's weird. It's really hard to get 3 and 4 right, especially if you don't have an awesome setup, you know. But I noticed that even on the default, I ran Charlotte, and after the tires heat up, it tends to drive better on the default. I don't know why. So, you know, if we were running like, I think 13 to 19 lap races, and over the course of the race, like halfway through, 5-6 laps in, I was like, oh, okay. Way too loose. I have like 0 grip. I feel like I'm driving on snow. Nice wreck there. Unrealistic, but nice. But I can drive it. You know, I can figure this out. You know, I go low. You know, you enter high, pull it low, but not too much, too low. Run the middle. But see, that's in 1 and 2. In Charlotte in 3 and 4, you kind of can't really do that. You have to put the truck or car in a spot in 3 that you'll be in a good spot in 4, and it really depends, you know, kind of thing. I charge the corners. I go right up to the Charlotte sign, typically before I let off, or as the run goes on, I back it up a little bit. But I drive it in, full on the gas. You at least see the Charlotte sign there? Yeah, the red, white, and blue thing, yeah. And definitely to the Monster Energy sign, which is before it. And then I kind of like drift it down And if you're in a pack, it's really hard to do. But love Charlotte. So see, I was driving up front all day here, which is good. See, it's good to have speed. You know, you hear, if you watch racing on TV, you know, how's the car when they ask them, and they're like, oh, I got speed. You know, all you want is when you show up to the track is to have speed, because you can work with speed. If you're slow, when you start out slow, a lot of times you can't really make it fast. You can make it faster, but you can't necessarily, you know, make it fast enough to make a huge difference. But with speed, you can do stuff, you know. If it's loose but it's fast, if it's tight but it's fast, you can typically adjust on it to maybe not get it perfect, but get it good enough to do really well. And of course, when the car or truck isn't perfect, you know, that's where the driver comes in. It's like, okay, driver, and you know, if any of you experience racing in real life or listen to the radioactives and scanner communications at the races, you hear them like, okay, driver, I know it's loose, but you got to make it another 20 laps till we get to the stage break, you know, the end of the stage, or if there's a caution. You know, the driver won't be happy about it, but that's his job. You know, you got to make strategic decisions. That's what the crew chief does. Driver and crew chief can do it together, but you know, you got to think about it. You know, that's why I try to do, if I get into a race and things aren't right, the truck's not right, the car's not right, I like try to make my adjustments early, because you're gonna have 2 guaranteed cautions if you're running stages, and the way I have my thing set, you'll check my settings at the end. You can guarantee almost a caution per stage. So you're going to have like 4 chances to adjust before you get to the 3rd stage, which is the money stage. And that's when, you know, like the racers used to say, it's when the pay window opens, it's the last lap. That's really all that counts. How you get there doesn't matter, because, you know, it's just getting to that last lap and finishing well. Yeah, I love Charlotte. I love most of the track. Oh, I'm a race nut. This race nut's got to stick together. I'm not crazy about the white truck, but yeah, it looks pretty good. Shows up pretty good. Yeah, I'm already in the next season, so and 1 season was enough. Maybe a white vehicle will make a reappearance, but I'm kind of a dark colored guy if I have a choice. 30.4. That's cool. See, fastest lap. 87 laps. Wow. These are all cool things, but you got to finish. You got to not wreck. I didn't wreck in this one. I usually don't wreck. Well, in the beginning, it's hard. If you get a really bad setup, don't worry about it. At least with NASCAR Heat 4, you know, you can pit and fix it, and you're back 100%. So you don't have to worry about it. You know, just deal with it. It's like, okay, caution comes out, you know, I'll pit, I'll fix it, I'll adjust on it. But it's important to keep in mind, that's why I keep my temps open, is to see what the truck's doing when it's not, especially when it's not handling right, you know, because if you're getting loose, you can see your right rear getting hot before you enter the next turn and spin it off, off the corner, because you're thinking you're gonna stick and you're not, you know, or you can see a problem happening, you know, and you can diagnose easier so that when you do pit, because you only got 30 seconds, you got an idea what you're gonna do. You know, maybe you can't get everything done, but you can get something done and make it easier not to wreck the next, you know, out of the pit after you pit, kind of thing. Yep. Well, thank you all. More to come, and keep rolling.